if Pence caved, we're gonna drag motherfuckers through the streets. If we find out you politicians voted for it, we're gonna drag your fucking ass through the street. We're not gonna have our election, our country stolen, because it's the second fucking revolution, and we're fucking done.
President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong.
If Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election.
I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone.
All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify, and we become president.
Frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president.
I hope Mike Pence comes through for us. He's a great guy.
President Trump is wrong.
Of course, if he doesn't come through, I won't like him quite as much.
Donald, they just don't respect you. They never did. Or fear you. They used to. Now, they're in a conspiracy against you. After you. Ron DeSantis just dissed you on a podcast run by wealthy super lobbyist Josh Holmes, Mitch McConnell's top strategist.
If that was a threat earlier, I would have been much louder.
You remember Mitch and Josh? They're in charge. They've been plotting to get rid of you. You're a joke. To take the GOP away from you. You're irrelevant. To control rhino candidates loyal only to them. They're humiliating you. All while raising millions using your name. Their money now. And DeSantis? Usurper. He begged for your help. Like a dog. But now he wants to be president. Betraying you. And he's coming for you. Coming for you. It's sad, Donald. You were never one of them. So much contempt. So sad. So much disrespect. You embarrassed them. So much laughter behind your back. They didn't take their party back. It was theirs the whole time.
I'm standing in your way.
This man right here is Ryan Nichols of Tyler, Texas. And unlike many January 6th defendants who have been out on bail, Nichols has been behind bars since his arraignment in April. Perhaps the crowbar in his hand has something to do with it. Let's listen to what Nichols had to say on the eve of the attack in this court-released video as he talks about himself in the third person.
So, yes, today, Ryan Nichols grabbed his weapon and he stormed the Capitol and he fought for freedom, for election integrity.
Allegrity sounds like a prescription medicine that comes with unfortunate side effects and a high copay. And what Nichols said sounded to me like bragging, or maybe a confession. Prosecutors have charged Nichols with 5 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, including assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers using a dangerous weapon, act of physical violence in the Capitol grounds or buildings, obstruction of an official proceeding, that would be the certification of the election, and disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon. And it seems that prosecutors have as their best evidence Ryan Nichols, because Ryan Nichols was crystal clear as he marched towards the Capitol on January 6th that his intent was violence.
I'm hearing reports that Pence caved. I'm telling you, if Pence caved, we're going to drag through the streets. You politicians are going to get drugged through the streets because it's the second revolution. And we're done. I'm telling you right now, Ryan Nichols said it. If you voted for treason, we're going to drag your through the street.
He's a poet and a revolutionary. And while police officers protected the politicians from the very violent acts threatened by Ryan Nichols, video shows him spraying the cops in his effort to reach the politicians. Nichols is the one in the camouflage bucket hat. Amazingly, on the same day that newly released court videos show the election integrity guy spraying cops to breach the Capitol and then bragging about it, the same day the Republican Party declared the events of January 6th to be legitimate political discourse in its resolution censuring Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger for participating in the House investigation into the insurrection. So let's be clear. If
Pence caved, we're going to drag through the streets. You politicians are going to get drugged through the streets.
Is legitimate political discourse per the modern Republican Party. If you had any doubt, and we told you this 100 times before on the show, but now the Republican Party has put it in writing that they support the armed insurrection against the United States of America. This was a chance for Republicans to disown the violence, and instead they said, nah, we're good. Because besides Cheney and Kinzinger, how many Republican members of Congress have spoken out against the RNC's resolution? So far, I count Bill Cassidy, Lisa Murkowski, Mitt Romney, Ben Sasse, Don Young. I can count them all on one hand. That's out of more than 250 Republicans on the Hill. Even Marco Rubio will only go so far. Here he is this morning responding to Mike Pence saying on Friday that Trump was wrong. Pence did not have the power to overturn the Electoral College vote. Rubio won't say it, even though he clearly agrees with Pence. In fact, watch the clip and notice who he refers to as president and who he doesn't.
Well, if President Trump runs for re-election, I believe he would defeat Joe Biden, and I don't want Kamala Harris to have the power as vice president to overturn that election. And that's the same thing that I concluded back in January of 2021.
So Donald Trump was wrong?
Well, as I said, I just don't think a vice president has that power.
Ah, the legendary backbone of Senator Marco Rubio.
The Republican National Committee formally rebuked Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger for their roles in the January 6th investigation. Because it really doesn't matter what your voting record may be, the Republican Party has become the Lannisters in Game of Thrones. Unless you swear undying fealty to King Joffrey, a.k.a. Donald Trump, you're out, much like Trump's former flunky, Mike Pence.
President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. And frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president.
All right, so Trump's undermining of the democratic process put America at a disadvantage on the world stage as our adversaries join hands against us. Now, after Biden deployed 3,000 troops to Eastern Europe to support NATO in the Ukraine-Russia standoff, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping have declared themselves besties. And for the first time, folks, explicitly challenged America as a global power. Now, this really is no surprise, given here at home, Republicans have chosen not just to reject democracy, but reality, declaring that the January 6th insurrection was simply, quote, legitimate political discourse. I agree. And, you know, there are also state legislatures that are also Republican. And you mentioned some of the election deniers who are running. And I want to talk about one that you mentioned, Ryan Kelly. He's the Michigan GOP candidate. And take a listen to what he said, Malcolm, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
If you see something you don't like happening with the machines, if you see something going on, unplug it from the wall.
The ideal thing is to do this peacefully. That's ideal. But the American people, at some point in time, if we can't change the tide, which I believe we can, we need to be prepared to walk alone. So you ask, what can we do? Show a mark.
Malcolm, that is terrifying. I mean, you are uniquely positioned to talk about this, given that you've dealt with these things globally. The fact that we're dealing with something like that domestically, I just don't think the Republican Party will again, and especially Republican voters, will again accept an election outcome that they don't like. And then what's our recourse?
Let me go back to your previous question, because I'm going to tell you what happens this November if, in fact, the Democrats don't start messaging right now, and the Republicans and independents who are opposed to Donald Trump and support the Constitution don't get it together right now. The American experiment ends on Election Day. Done. They are not joking about going out and tearing up all the machinery of government. They're not joking about impeaching Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on a monthly basis. Jason Johnson himself predicted that they would go out and appoint, they can just vote Donald Trump as Speaker of the House in order to humiliate Nancy Pelosi in her previous position, in the same way that he became president after Barack Obama. They're not joking about that now. Now they're saying they won't want to do that. This is an election that is not about abortion rights. It is not about the economy. It is not about criminal justice reform. It is not about the individual thing that many of your watchers of this show won't come out and vote. It is about the apathy that will destroy the American Republic. And I know, I'm an intelligence guy. My job was to spend my whole life warning people. I know I'm getting a little shouty these days, but I see it. They are not joking about coming in and unplugging the machines. They're not joking about using firearms to come and shoot and kill people in order to get the result that they want anymore, because they are an armed tribe, not a political party.
Lucy, you made so many good points there. The one I want to hone in on is a zero tolerance policy. And I honestly did not hear that from the former vice president yesterday when he spoke. He said Donald Trump was wrong. He did not denounce the big lie. I am not ready to join this chorus of, oh, he finally stood up to Trump. No, he didn't. He tiptoed around it, and he stood by that man while atrocious things happened in this country. Malcolm, what I want to ask you, the violence. I mean, we saw January 6th. Before that, we saw the plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan. White supremacy is on the rise. And, folks like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, the organized chaos is very much a part of their plan. So as we look at midterms, in Texas, you have armed partisan poll watchers and potentially all across the country. What about violence? Because some of these places do not have federal protection the same way the U.S. Capitol does. Not every governor, the governors might have protection, but local electors don't. How do we prepare for potential violence?
Let me speak not just to your viewers. Let me speak to the White House for a moment, because the urgency of now in protecting not even the framework, the pure fabric of the American Republic is now at stake. I'm a Philadelphian. I take great offense to everything that's happening. These people who are talking about coming and bringing guns to the polls and fighting, and that guy in Washington State who says, when can we start killing people? They're serious. I just wrote 130,000 words showing that this is not an insurrection. It's an insurgency. And every insurgency has a political component to it and a political body standing behind it. These guys view themselves as the Irish Republican Army to a certain extent, or they want to. But let me tell you something interesting. I'm here in Kyiv, Ukraine, and right down the street from me is the Maidan, the place in 2014 where people power overwhelmed a corrupt pro-Moscow government. Pure people power. The Orange Revolution. They are terrified of the Democrats, independent Republicans and independents coming out and washing away this corruption. They are motivated. They have 60% of Republicans are highly motivated for this election. 41% of the Democrats are motivated. So if we don't turn this around really, really quickly and understand that perhaps it's going to have to be African-American women and men and, people who understand what's coming on. But you got to vote down ticket, right from dog catcher, state senator, congressman. Every person who voted against Trump in 2020 did not vote down ticket, which is why they lost 15 or so or more seats. We lose 5, American Republic ends. Period.